This conference will now be recorded.
There we go.
And it just turned 6.
The hardest thing we have to do all day is that right there.
And I still can't.
Got to make little stickers for the back that says hold, and then a sticker on this one that says just push.
Yeah, like push.
It took me like 2 years to figure this button out. Because to me, I wanted to press and hold it,
Right.
even though it just says push.
Push.
And then the battery take out isn't running either to me. That's the wrong idea. I agree. I hate these little.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Okay, call the meeting to order. Approve the agenda. Any additions or corrections on the agenda? We aren't going to take any additions?
No additions, keeping it short.
Yeah.
You can take them away if you want.
Yeah, what were you
We
thinking?
can skim through them.
Yep.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
I will second.
Got a motion, a second to approve the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Second to approve the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Approve accounts payable.
I'm glad Kim is here this evening. I have one question. So accounts payable is just the stuff that's coming out. It's not the stuff that's going in. I was told that the $125 for the pool radio is actually donated by a particular aerobic instructor in town that wanted some music out there. So she literally,
donated, like, how much did she give back last year, Miranda?
I don't remember.
Tricia, it was like $900.
but I was told through the grapevine that she had donated some money and said, I specifically want this particular fund to go directly towards a radio. So I just wanted, we would definitely.
Ann did purchase a radio.
Correct. What I was saying is like, that wouldn't be coming out of city funds. I mean, even though it's in the pool account, she puts her money in the pool account. Yep.
Donated like 900, probably went into
Yep.
restricted. I'll make a note to check on that.
Yep.
Okay.
I just thought that was very generous and very nice of her to do that, because that was one of the things that the guards were talking about when we were out there painting that day, when we were painting the exterior building, is like, any chance we could get a radio or a Bluetooth speaker or something out here? Because there's no music, no sound whatsoever.
Yeah, I told Ann to go get one. I said, if
Yep.
I'm gonna be there every night, I don't wanna just listen to silence. I wanna listen to something.
Or screaming children.
Crank that music up. And you'll see Eric Froland on here twice. He's the guy that did the skate park.
The
So,
deposit.
yep, down payment and then the rest of it.
Very
Yeah,
nice, by
he
the
did
way.
a great
It's
job.
awesome.
He
It
got
looks
right on
really
top
good.
of that.
Yep, it looks awesome. Oh, and Ann purchased new pool deck chairs too, so you'll see that in there.
Yep,
The pool deck chairs were pretty scary,
they were.
and
very
there was like
sketchy.
2 of them. Every year they'd set out like 3 of them by the garbage can that the back just broke off, so.
Do we have to approve this Troy Ness $203 because he hasn't received those funds yet?
I think it's on Brian's desk, waiting for his signature.
Well, I've gotten my water bill already, and that was way earlier than when these funds came out, so tell Brian to,
You got 22nd.
right.
Well, don't pay the water bill, see what happens.
I was gonna see if I could get $203 worth of credit on my water bill. I get like 2 months for free.
There you go.
If it with the same fund, maybe.
I do not want to make the paperwork any harder than I have to for Kim. I know better.
Don't be cruel. I'll look when we're done here. You might consider it.
Nice.
Everything's watering, so we have had a non-ending stream of hot water bills.
I bet.
And it's like, are you watering your yard? Yeah, well, then your usage is gonna go up.
Right.
Can't help you there.
Or, you know, you have a baby and you're doing laundry every other
Yeah,
day and
or
now,
if
Yeah.
somebody
Yeah.
leaves the hose on outside and it runs for
Yeah.
half a day.
Correct.
but that's not the city water, right? That's just,
Right.
And,
We did some duties.
and what they don't realize, if they got a different kind of to turn it off and then leave the spigot on, and if that drips
Trickles.
all night long, it's
Or if
amazing.
your hose blows,
It's amazing, how,
you know, if your hose blows because it's hot, and
Mhm.
that's not
So
good.
always turn off your spigot. even if you have a hose that's got
Exactly.
sprayer.
I'll make a motion to approve accounts payable.
I will second.
and a second to approve the accounts payable, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Should be no, we can bypass the public
Skip that.
comment because I don't think nobody's here to do that. Pool manager update.
All right, so Anne was not going to, she was thinking she wasn't gonna be here tonight, so she just wanted to let you guys know that the first session of swimming lessons is over and the second session started today. The first session went really well. Let's see, and also the first session of Aqua Zumba with Trisha Miller, that's also done, and that was a huge hit, which it was last year as well. She said some of the evening classes had around 20 to 25 people in them.
That's good.
So that's, yeah, there was always tons of cars in the parking lot. And she invites you guys to come join her if you guys are free.
For that.
Yeah, it
I
looks
might go do
fun.
that. Those look really fun.
It looks fun. And we've only had, I think, one official complaint about the noise, but it's during okay time, so
So,
nothing we can do about it.
right.
And then she says Thatcher came and worked on a drain that was broken and it seems to be working better. And last week they had a backup in the men's bathroom. And the city guys were able to get out there and get it unclogged, but she thinks it may cause issues in the future. But, you know,
Mike had to come out there and it was plugged up, but they were doing some watering and they were seeing some sand. Hey. How are you guys? Good, good. Sand and like dirt, so they got it open and everything, but they might think they're like collapsed pipe or something, but they're gonna, just wanted us to know that, yeah, it's slowly. Okay, anything else on that?
nope, that's all she had.
Super.
Things are going good.
Yay.
He's with disc golf stuff.
Yep.
I actually have more of a question, separate from that. I'd like to ask you guys too, if at all possible. So I live just outside of town and we had Waste Management and they quit picking up our garbage as of this week. Does anybody know another company that will service us?
LRS is who we use, that's all we have.
Yeah, they won't take us.
I don't know.
Right, we don't have disc golf on here.
No, I guess you could put them under public comment if you want to. Or we can
Or
add them to the
unfinished,
agenda.
or unfinished business, we could add them as C on there and skip right down to that right away.
Sure.
Used to be sunshine and sanitation.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, and then Waste Management bought them out, and then now they're just like, so I'm convinced it's because we live on the north side of 52 on Sherwood, and it's going to be a dead end, and we're going to have to come in this back way, so you're not going to be able to shoot off 52 anymore, even to get there. Now we have to go south, we have to come the back way in, which is whatever, but they're just like, yeah, sorry about your luck. But there's a whole bunch of us out there by the sound, from the Facebook page or whatever. And they're just like, yeah, sorry about your luck. Like, what do we do?
Seems out there, yeah, private. There's a white truck that drives around that I see sometimes. I forgot
That's
County.
that's my van.
Trash.
The county might know if you call.
They don't,
They don't
yeah,
really?
no, we've been we've been in contact with them, you know. There's a company in Lake City that says if they get enough business, they'll take it on or whatever, so we've kind of been pushing that along as well, but I just figured I'd ask while I was here.
So,
Do we want to do the disc golf stuff then?
Yeah, let's
Yeah, just
go to
skip
disc
that.
golf and add that as C under unfinished business.
introduce yourself to everybody here. Yeah, I
So
don't
I'm Kurt Bovid. I helped design and kind of get the new disc golf course in motion, so to speak. I don't know if you guys have checked out the changes that have been made or whatever. That new basket location is perfect in my opinion. If nobody has any objection, I think that should be the permanent location. The main concern that I have at this point is getting some sort of temporary tee pads. At least some sort of tee pad location and some sort of signage out there. I play a few times a week and I run into people all the time. They're like, hey, how do you get to the next hole? Hey, how does this thing play? You know, I think it's a great course and I think we're going to draw a lot of people to it. But I think we're going to start to lose them if we don't give them a layout that they can follow and play somewhat simply.
I know, beginning at the end of last year, when we talked to that other gentleman, he said we should put some temporary 4x4s in for,
Yeah, I mean, I know he had done, we had a tournament there a few weeks back or whatever, and he had done some just simple like spray painted orange, and those worked really well, but they're disappearing now, and I didn't expect that they were going to stay, I guess, but
Right.
even the spray paint's gone now, so you're like, I'm relying on UDisc to like, okay, this is where the tee pad's supposed to be, so we throw off here, you know?
so if we put some, I mean, I think the T signs were pretty generic anyway, and we knew they weren't gonna, but, so if we put some,
Right.
maybe a little temporary,
Well, I would love to see if, you know, as long as everybody's in agreement that the tee pads are where they are going to be and the baskets are where they're going to be, maybe even just starting off with some 4x4 posts with, you know, the number 1, 2, 3, and, you know, maybe just something as simple as on the basket, taking a stencil and putting an arrow to the next tee pad because the baskets are set, they shouldn't be moving. You know, if we had a tee pad that said hole 1, and then it's pretty clear to see the basket at that point, and then from hole 1, if on the basket there's just an arrow pointing to the tee pad for number 2. I think that would simplify things at this point until we, you know, go forward with a completely permanent
so
solution.
just like spray painting a line would be enough?
Well, I mean, yeah, realistically, if we had a post,
That would be.
everybody is going to know, hey, you know, that's kind of, you know, with a number on it, that's going to be, it's good enough for right now. You know what I mean? I don't necessarily think, spray paint doesn't really hold up, but you know, it holds up for a week or two, but,
Yep.
and I don't know if anybody's going to have the time or the patience
Yep.
or the resources to continue that. But I feel like if we just got a 4x4 in the ground, you know, at the tee location, that's a lot of courses, that's what they have, you know
With a
what I mean?
number on it.
Right, you know, even if we just kind of dremeled it out and spray painted it with a neon color, 1, 2, you know, so on and so forth. And like I say, just something that kind of points you in the right direction to where number 3 is or number 4 is, or, you know, because I know 1, 2, 3, and 4 are pretty easy to navigate, but then you have to cross the road to get to 5, and then you have to go kind of behind a building to get to 6, you know, so if you're not from here and you've never played it, you're lost. You're like, you know, you can see baskets all over the place, but to try to play the flow through is tricky, you know. But I think that would maybe be a simple, and those 4x4 posts wouldn't have to go anywhere ever, you know, once we put pads in and stuff, that posts could stay even to put our, you know, permanent signage on or whatever, you know. That might be a good way to start.
And 4x4s could be taken out very, very easily. We see how easily the baskets were moved. So I was going to say thank you to Kirk and Mike who had went and finished that, because Fred and I had talked beforehand too about moving one of the baskets away from the entrance of the actual covered bridge itself. It was right on the slope, right where the trail kind of winds off and goes in multiple directions. So before they had a tournament on Father's Day weekend, they went down, quickly moved that basket, filled it all back in very nicely, and they tucked it back into the woods. And where he said he really likes that location, my only concern is that it's a unmaintained section of the park. We went in there with the brush hog and we did some clearing. So it's between the trail and the mowed section, kind of back, if you were to continue on, just between where the old softball field is, where we got the backstop there, and the campground. So if you were just entering the campground on the left side and you were to drive like straight towards the river, it's back in there. And it's probably 15, maybe 20 feet into the woods. Very nice location. I have played it and it plays well now. But when we are not maintaining that grass, I'm afraid that that's going to grow up with a lot of weeds and do stuff very, very quickly. I'm just worried who's going to maintain the green, if you will, space around there.
If I remember right, talking to Larry, whatever he's clearing out, he plans to be mowed eventually.
Then it'd be ideal.
I
Then it'd be ideal.
also think that from what I gather, the foot traffic is gonna keep it pretty well. I mean, I've not passed by here too many times and not seen people out here throwing, so
Correct.
I feel like, generally, I know, like Game Haven in Rochester, the first year was miserable, but now even the brush and stuff is all tamped down.
I appreciate your optimism, but I play regular golf, and whenever I'm out in the woods looking for my ball, there's a lot of foot traffic out there, but the woods are still plenty grown up, so.
Did that other basket right below the bridge?
That has not been moved
That's
yet.
gone. Oh,
There's another one to the left that
Correct.
because I was talking to, what was the name again, Mike?
Mike, yep.
When he was moving that one, and I asked him what he's gonna do about the tee off for this basket over here. He said, well, that's across the way. And I said, well, what are you gonna, he was talking about building a platform. I said, well, we can't have that by the bridge. There's a lot of
and I don't necessarily think that's necessary either. I mean, I think the teeing off just the way we.
But I don't even like where the
basket.
It's right where the two trails come together and it's right in that corner. And I personally would not, I'd like to see them not having to come through the bridge to go to tee off, because that bridge is very busy with visitors and stuff. I'd rather, that's my feeling, keep everything over on that side of the park.
And the way it was presented was that was an alternate tee box for some very, very advanced users. It wouldn't be like the actual tee box was down on the north side of the river, not coming through the bridge. So for the tournament, I don't know which one was used, but there was the option on that. If you look to the U-Disc golf, if someone wanted a challenge, they could walk through the thing and try and throw across the river.
Right. And if they're standing there to throw to that target, they can't see if anybody's walking on the trail.
Correct. Yeah. You can't see the trail from where you're at.
No.
Yep.
That's a concern of mine.
If you're throwing across the river, we're not throwing near the trail. We're throwing the opposite direction.
But basket's right by the trail.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
That one basket is one, and that's kind of the whole reason why we haven't done any signage yet, and I apologize for that. That was the thing that I was supposed to get with Mike Olson and with Mary. The three of us were supposed to go out there and meet and make sure that every one of the locations were where we thought they were going to be permanently. So this has drug on long enough. I completely agree with Kirk and Mr. Nolte that if we can just get some temporary signs up, better than just we basically had yardsticks with laminated things on there. It was extremely temporary. I think we could easily do 18 4x4 posts, and we could reuse for now 9 of the cement pavers that were originally put in as the tee boxes. They're just all still stacked up right by the trail. They're just stacked there. We can redistribute those and put those out in the new locations for at least the first 9 holes. And for the last 18 or for the last 9 holes from 10 through 18, we can do something else.
They probably don't mind throwing off the grass if they knew where they're throwing, right?
I mean,
Right.
either way would be fine by us. I mean,
Right. I mean, it just seems like a lot of work to put them in. I mean, I would just put, like you said, whatever,
yeah.
put a post there, them knowing it, and then they
Right.
know for this year until.
Right.
I don't think those pavers are any more work than going and buying 4x4s or whatever and cutting them and then spray painting them orange. And I mean, either way, you gotta bring something there and put it down.
You're gonna have to do that anyway, even if you put the pavers in.
Correct.
Put
I
the
think the
four.
pavers would be less prone to vandalism than a 4x4 sticking above ground.
What-
Well,
The
ideally, you take a little
pavers,
shovel and kind of get it flush.
the pavers you're talking about just for teeing off, to stand on.
Yep.
You still would have to put the 4x4.
So I-
Right. This is just a place for them to stand to throw.
Gotcha.
That won't tell them where they have to go next or anything.
No, I mean, it
We
would
could hang
just
a
be
little
kind of-
sign below each basket. You guys did a pretty good job during the tournament too. You hung a little sign. We could make up 8 little tiny signs that would be enough to get us through this fall yet, that just said next tee box that way with a little arrow.
Right.
We can get that done.
Well, and
Absolutely.
it probably wouldn't be too much to just order a sign with a number on it too.
Correct.
Yeah.
I've got a place that I use for signs I could look and see, because it doesn't have to be that big.
No.
Right,
Like this,
no.
like the size of a sheet of paper, maybe?
I mean, I would.
Not
plenty.
even.
Not
Yeah,
even?
I mean, yeah, really, like I said, I mean, even if it fit, if it was just a card placard, something this size that fit right on that 4x4 post that we just put a
Just
couple
so you can
screws
see, yeah.
into would be,
Correct.
Yeah.
Let me take that as an action item. I will work with Miranda. We will get for next month, we will hurry up and get this, we can get it approved, but it'll be very inexpensive to get
Yeah.
18 signs out there.
If you want, you could approve an up to amount.
Sure.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
So we don't have to wait another
You could-
month.
you could get
Sure.
ahead and get
Yep, then we can get them ordered.
For the signs and 4x4s you're talking?
I don't even know how much those 4x4s cost.
Well, we need what, how far on the ground would you want them?
I mean, realistically, if we got 8-footers, we could probably use 4 foot, we could cut it in half, right? Because 4 feet, I mean, you only need, it doesn't have to be anything crazy, something that, you know.
You could stick up 3 feet on the ground.
That's gonna be under $100 probably.
3 feet's what, here, right?
Right.
So I mean, that would be fine, you know, so
Yeah.
and then we just put a little, you know, even cut a 45 on it and put that little
Yeah.
placard on there, that would be.
Yeah.
That would be
But
fine.
before you do that, I'd walk around with Mike and stuff.
Correct.
So, you know, there
Yeah,
might
I
be some
mean,
red
if there-
flags
if there are
that we don't
definitely-
know about. That
Right.
Mike's out there all the time, so I definitely want his approval on where they are. And talk to him about, I don't know what the rest of you feel about that one down here. I know you're smiling, you like that one there. I'm
Well,
sure.
I mean, it's like, it is kind of like I say, it's kind of like it's the pretty hole, you know, it's kind of the signature hole for the, just because throwing over the river with the covered bridge right there is kind of cool, you know?
What the rest do you think about that? It just,
I mean, if it's a safety
Well,
concern and it's something
we can
that-
try it too. If we get complaints, we can always move it, so, yeah.
Right.
I know
But
that.
I just don't want something like a big old wooden platform next to the bridge where you're gonna tee off. Because people take a lot of pictures there, don't you think that? I mean,
That's a huge,
I
yeah.
think the Covered Bridge Society probably would not appreciate us having some, you know, so maybe it just, I
Yeah,
think it's,
and
it
I
could be
mean,
just
maybe,
gravel
like
there.
you said,
that-
keeping it an alternate tee pad, you know, as so far, maybe it's just kind of like the locals in a tournament type of thing. That would be fine too. And then, like you said, yeah, maybe just put one of the little pavers in the ground right there, and that would be.
That's all they need for that one.
That's all they need.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, if you do
just
something like that, but
keep it kind of
He told me he was
pretty
gonna do
around.
like a deck and everything. I was like,
No,
silly.
he tried that. I mean, we tried that for the tournament and
Okay.
nobody used it in any, I mean, it was a plan that was not necessarily a great.
Let's go with that then, and if we have some issues with it, then we can always. So what's your thought on getting them in or where you want them and stuff? Is that,
I mean, as far as I am concerned, I am perfectly content with the layout that's on UDisc right now. And the tee pads that we use, the temporary for the most part from this last tournament, if everybody, like I said, if whoever needs to approve that, if everybody approves it, I feel like it's pretty good right now. I mean,
well, then I would say you and Mary or whatever, find a day, you know, as soon as possible and then to put them in, I mean, to put
Yeah.
the T-pad or to the posts in.
Yeah, I mean,
That's-
yeah, we.
Is that something you're willing to help with or?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
So,
I mean, yeah, absolutely.
okay. So Troy, I mean, that's something you can.
Absolutely.
You have
I
my
can, I can,
number,
I
Troy?
can coordinate that with Mike and Mary, get that all approved, and then I can reach out to
What works best
Kirk.
for you on, like, days of the week?
Honestly, I would have to probably do it on the weekends, honestly, or.
I mean, to do it, but I mean, to walk around and,
Oh, I mean, I can plan anytime, really.
okay, well, you
Yeah.
worked it out with them then and
Yeah,
what,
just let me know what works, right? And
Yep,
I'll-
absolutely.
I'll plan a lunch block and just come up and.
what do you think would be a good number, Kim, to approve up to $200 or something like
I would
that?
say $200 or $300.
Yeah.
They're $13 a piece right now for 8-footers.
$13.
So if you're gonna cut them in half,
You can always approve it, if it's less, great, if it's more, you can always approve it.
yeah, so
At least
200
you get
something at
At
least.
least you get the stuff in.
So that would be $120 without any tax or anything, just for the 9 8-foot 4x4s, just for the T-posts, if we want to do that. So $200 should easily cover the 4x4s. And then if we have any money left over, we can start making our little signs below, or if you want to just put an extra 100 on there right away for that, we'll just go up to 300 and we'll try and do the 4x4s and the signs and get that all done so we don't have to come back.
It's a good idea.
So I'll make a motion to pre-approve up to $300 to be spent for temporary 4x4 T signs and any signs we can do to identify the basket in the next location.
I'll second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Or, yeah, carried.
And then I will get
With you as soon as I get confirmation from Mike and Mary, and I will even help you. We'll do it on a weekend. We'll go out there and we'll get the 4x4s all cut. We'll get them put in and we'll get it dialed. Also want to just very quick note that Kirk had said that once we do finalize all this, we get going, I'll probably now be working on next spring when we get more permanent signage put up, that he would like to donate or at least look at designing the true map for the whole entire course. And he does some nice woodworking and stuff like that. So we'll have him bring back in kind of a design example of what he's got going on, or even a sample of what he's thinking of before we do that. But thank you for that. That's awesome that you've done that, and for all your help getting it to where it is already today. So thank you.
Oh, I enjoy it like this.
Yep, it was a lot of fun. Thank you.
You know how to get all of me.
Yep, absolutely. I got your number.
Well, thank you guys. I
Yep.
appreciate the cooperation.
Oh, I appreciate
Lots
you
of
doing
fun.
All right. Have a wonderful evening. I'll
it.
get
Yeah,
ready.
have a good Fourth, thank you. Okay, we'll go back up to the dugout estimate then. Main reason we had to have them.
All for that guy.
This
Just a little
cloud.
bit of dig. That's okay. That's the only reason why I signed up to be on the park board in the first place. I appreciate you guys taking extra time to do this. For at least the next 6 months while I'm active park board member, I'm still passionate about this. No, so I got some volunteers who keep asking me about when are we gonna get the dugouts done? How is that coming? What's going on? So went back in, got a firm quote. I sharpened the pencil until it just about broke off in the Menards pencil sharpener. I worked with Brian on trying to get at least whatever he needs for a building permit or something going, because I told him, like, we gotta strike while the iron is hot. If July comes and goes and we don't get started on this, we are gonna lose all of our volunteers because baseball season is pretty much over come August 1st. So thank you for meeting. Basically what we're looking at, we can ignore the very first Menards thing, that estimate 70446, that's for fencing. We're not even gonna talk about that. We're gonna push that out until next spring. I'm gonna try and get some grant money. I've tried twice through the Twins organization to get some money. One time I missed the deadline, the second time the funds were all gone before I got there. So I'll try again next spring and see if they get anything. The Twins thing is a funds matching grant, and it is only for infield or for dugout stuff. It doesn't do anything to do with lights, bleachers, scoreboards, anything. So it's just dugouts or infield stuff. So hopefully we can get some more money recouped from them next year if we can finish the dugouts. So that brings us to the next estimate, which is 70440. Subtotal is $1,059. What I'm looking for is permission for the city to purchase these materials from Menards and have them delivered out to the softball field, and I will arrange volunteers to build basically what you see in the next picture, which is just a flat sloped roof, 24 feet long, 10 feet deep. So it'll overhang just slightly, like a foot over the fence and a foot behind the fence or whatever, just to protect the kids from the sun, from foul balls, things like that. There won't be any fence around it. It'll just be 4x4s anchored to the existing concrete with the hurricane cement down anchor bolts that are all included on that quote, and volunteers will put it all up. And that will hopefully get done yet here within the next month. If we can get the materials, if we can get the building permit, and we can get the volunteers lined up.
I think Brian was on the phone with the building inspector. Telling him he needs to get this done.
Yep, and I was copied with Randy on a lot of that stuff and answered as many of his questions as I possibly could and told him it'd be something very simple.
Now, we talking to Mike to see if they wanted shingles on that versus tin?
Correct, so even if the city wants to approve this list, I will give them the final, like, bill of materials list. This quote can be revamped, we can take all the shingles and stuff off of there. We can just leave that amount on there, but in talking to the guy from Menards, who I did not get an updated quote for this meeting, but he said tin is about a wash, this way or that way. So
it always used to be.
the reason why Fred had brought that up, we talked about that, the exterior buildings that are out there now, one is the concession stand restroom, the other one is the pavilion overneath the picnic tables. Both of them have, and I don't know how old they are now, but shingles on them. They're architectural shingles. They're like a dark hunter green, so they're kind of a unique special order shingle. The shingle that is on here is the cheapest 3-tab fiberglass shingle known to man, like $29 a bundle, just done deal. I also have some of the folks that work at ABC Supply, the lumber that does just roofing. Their kids play baseball and they're adamant that they can get a roofing employee discount to help do anything we want to do out there. If we want to make it tin, if we want to do things. So we could split this and we could literally purchase everything but the roofing from Menards, and any leftover money from this, whatever the total was, 4,000 and change, could go directly to ABC and they could supply all the roofing materials. For shingles or tin or whatever we decide to do. Yep, exactly. I don't
know how long them shingles have been on there.
Since it was built, so when we built that 2008, 2009, right in there.
There's a few years left in them yet though, but I just thought everything else out in the park, we've been putting tin on when the shingles go.
Right.
So,
And I only put shingles on there so that it would match what's out there right now. And then I don't know what foul balls are gonna do towards tin, but honestly, I don't
thought of that.
think it's gonna,
That's just scary.
yeah.
That's maybe why they went with shingles on the rest of it too.
Maybe.
Where are you getting $4,000 from?
Because this is for one single dugout.
One, got it.
That's for one
So
dugout.
got it,
Yep.
times
Okay.
4.
So we're looking times 4.
And those funds are
You have funds in your.
available to do
Yeah,
that?
Let's get it, get it, you know me, let's get it done, get it paid for, then we see what we can go to the next.
Next
The
program.
thing is, for the Menards, we have tax, we don't have to pay tax. So it's on our account, so that's helps.
Oh.
An extra couple $100, well, an extra $300, so.
And I don't know if we can purchase 3 of them and then get the 11% rebate back on our 4th one or how that works, but
Ooh, that's good.
Menards is always running 11%, but it's on your next purchase.
Yes.
But you got the fencing there too,
Correct.
so we can use the rebate for that.
Right, but like I said, I'm holding off. I'm hoping that the Twins organization has money again next spring. That opens up in January and lasts up until like April, so I'm gonna try and get in right away with that. I already got a reminder set on my phone to reach out to them. Hopefully they get, but their funds matching, so if we say we want $10,000 worth of fencing and new bases and all sorts of stuff for the infield, they'll match funds.
So
So what's this 70446? Is this for the fence?
That's fencing, yep. So the 440, if you look in the upper left-hand, it says estimate for dugout. And if you look at the 446, you look at estimate for at the very
Oh,
bottom, it
fence.
says dugout fence.
Got it.
So that dugout fence, if you look at the picture, that is literally just a 3-sided fence that goes around the outside of the dugout. That just keeps the cats herded, if you will, so you don't have kids running in and out of the dugout, and you keep them in the safe zone underneath the roof. And it keeps the baseballs and the bats and the helmets and stuff contained just to the dugout. Right now, they're just kind of littered up and down the fence wherever they feel.
Yeah.
Fence like that versus block on days like today when there's a breeze, it'd be good for the kiddos.
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay,
and then you
so-
can see through the dugout better, so you pick up the trash, you don't leave backpacks behind, there's no
Yeah.
security issues.
Kids aren't doing things they shouldn't be when there's,
Or
Not a
late at
game
night, the
going
cop
on.
doesn't have to go and look in the dugout, you can
Right.
see just driving through the parking lot.
Okay. So we would entertain a motion for that.
You don't want us to approve the fence at this time.
Correct.
Just
Nope,
the,
Just looking to approve the materials for the dugout itself, not the
the
fence.
amount comes to $4,238.44. That's what you're looking to approve.
What if we do approve the fence right now?
Then I would still hold off on that because it's a funds matching grant and it only can go towards dugout. So if we approve it now, I would earmark it not to be spent until we find out whether or not that grant money gets met. That would be a fantastic idea though, because if the grant says, okay, you're approved, how much money are you spending? You'd have to come back at that time and say, hey, how much more do we want to spend to get done?
But you're gonna have to reprice that fence.
Correct.
Anyway,
Right.
because it's by,
Right.
Putting that money aside, just
Yep.
okay.
Sometimes they say, you have to prove that you need it,
Correct,
and if you put it all away already, it's a little harder to prove that you need it
correct.
Right.
for
Okay.
organization.
What's the likelihood of achieving that grant?
Well, I'm 0 for 2, but it was, the first time was because I didn't meet the deadline. The second time was the funds were used up. So
I make a motion to cover all 4 dugouts at the price of $1059.61 each.
I will second.
motion second, dugouts for the material. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Christ Lutheran Park land dedication. We don't have anything down or anything. So they
We're not interested in the dog park.
they come back, because we told them we were looking, put the dog park there, and Alan Schumacher called me, and I think they talked to down here too, and said they weren't interested in a dog park there, but yeah, they're still interested in giving us a little chunk of land to put a playground out there, but I mean, we really don't have any reason to put a playground out there, so.
No.
It is quite a beautiful view.
Mhm.
It has quite a long sight line.
Yeah, that's a
It
nice,
might be, but that is the worst traffic area. As a parent, I wouldn't bring my dog out there.
Mm-mm.
I mean, I think down the road, when there's more housing out there, it'll be
Correct.
different, but right now it's just ghost town out there.
yeah, and then when there's another subdivision in housing, they have to do the same thing, so.
Yeah.
Right, or a cultural or a scientific natural area, or a meditation garden. Yes, anything that would humor, keeping that land out there, for that kind of situation.
Is it pretty wet?
Too, that land.
It's got terraces.
Yeah, that's totally up to you guys. I mean, I personally think, that 20,000, I mean, realistically, they don't determine what goes on that land that they put for us.
Correct.
But for them to say they don't want a dog park there, it's fine, then they don't dedicate the land to us. They pay the 20,000 then.
Yep.
I know, that's just, because the 20,000 is for either we can do a park there or not there, but it's to go towards upkeep on the other city parks that are in here.
Did you have a conversation with these people that say that they don't want the dog park?
Not from the, Alan Schumacher called me.
Got it.
He's on
Because
there.
I'm just wondering, are they thinking, like, is it gonna be a safety issue for the kids, or what are their thoughts?
Alan told me he had talked to Henderson's also that donated the land, and they said they weren't in favor of it either. And
The other consideration out there, regardless of speed or safety, is where's everybody gonna park? Because you can't park on the side of the road out there, especially with all that stuff.
Well, Mike was
The
looking at
traffic.
if they were to allow it, dedicate that for what we want to do. He was going to talk to the township, because the township has down lower on the flat part there. Yep, goes past where you loop up to go.
Yep.
There's an area there that would be big enough to put parking spots.
So then you gotta park down below and walk up and around.
Well, that would come, the entrance would come all the way down.
Well, that's the wettest, most unusable portion of the park is at the bottom. The scenic stuff is up at the top.
Okay, if you look on your red diagram here, then there's a little white.
Yep,
It's kind of right at where it loops around there.
yep.
There's an area there. I think the wetland is down further this way.
Sure. Yeah, I was out there, familiar with the area.
Yeah, so I mean, we don't have to make a decision tonight either, but we can, I mean, I think talk more when Brian and Mike are both here.
Yeah, I don't think we really know enough tonight to.
Yeah.
Well, the thing of it is, and this is totally, it's up to you guys, because it's in city code, that if you do a development, you have to do park land dedication, either land or money. So something has to be give, and if they choose not, that's really important to them, then they're gonna have to come up with cash.
Right.
Because if, again, it gets all into precedents and setting precedents for future developments. If you skip it for one, then how can you say to somebody else who comes in?
I'm all for the money. I just don't think that's a good location for a park of any kind, just because of where it's at geographically and with the road and
And
everything
you want to
else.
set the precedent of having the developer be able to dictate, I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but a developer be able to dictate to you as a
How you-
park board.
Like what you can, yeah.
Want
Right.
to use the land.
Right.
I mean, there are times when people give you land and they say, I would like this to be a certain memorial. That's, I think, maybe
Right.
a little bit different circumstance than
Yep.
specifically something
Agreed.
that is part of a developer's agreement.
But it's kind of similar to, you don't like what your neighbor's doing on their land.
Correct.
It's not really your choice, though.
Right.
Correct.
Like, if
Yeah,
it's
once the
within,
land is donated to the park board, they use it for a dog park or whatever they want.
Right.
but I mean, you don't want to create a bad relationship with them either.
And I don't think we would be. I think they were given the choice to donate it, and one of our suggestions was a dog park, and they rescinded quickly and said we'd rather not be there. So we can counter with saying we're fine with not having it a park.
Take the cash, yeah.
I'm totally fine with the cash. We could use it for all the other parks that we have that we need to maintain. We could use the money.
Yeah.
Well, and if you, yeah, it's always what you think is the best and nice use for the property.
And I know way back, when I first got on, they were wondering why we didn't have a playground up there. Well, they dedicated to walkway,
Right.
to trails and stuff. And I know some people, but even for, if we did it because of that development there, it's just too far away.
So if you look at that map right there, and if you look at everything on the north side of that road that's not developed right now, and Fred had already mentioned, once that develops across the road from this,
Yep.
that I think, now you have that whole entire rectangle. You can decide if you want something close to the road or all the way at the back, because the back honestly would end up servicing the Dorothea addition as well, because
Yep.
now it's kind of centrally
Kind of
located
right
between
in
the
the
new
back.
addition and the existing Dorothea addition. And there's still a fairly decent view, especially if you pick the stuff right on the corner where that red writing is right there.
Yeah.
That is but it's still, that's underneath where you talked about where they already kind of had earmarked underneath that power line that just goes straight north on this photo. You could start with a park right there and then have the bike trail go straight out of the park.
Yeah, and then
Potentially.
at that time, then we probably.
And then it's on the right side
Put
of
in
the
the
road.
walking trail behind all them houses at that time and stuff to bring them up to there and stuff.
Correct.
I'm just gonna take another point of view and advocate for keeping the land. I think that we could design it into a feature for the city. I think that if we do not want to park there, that it could become valuable investment in the future, more than 20 grand could ever pay for what we need done. And I think also, I had another point there. Yeah. But mainly those, it's gonna be worth more than the money that they're giving us. Oh yeah, the third point is, who is going to, how is the park board going to obtain land in the future in this city? What is the way that we could ever purchase a piece when we're always short in funds? What is the way that we can wait for someone to donate or have to be part of the code to donate or part of the code to, what's the right language to?
Right, developer.
So that it could be a decade from now, right, and longer. So it would be great to obtain a piece of land at this point in time. It'd be worth more in the future and we could sell it.
But my question would be too on that. I'm not 100% sure that read that they were thinking about doing that big of area either. Because when they were talking to me, there was a knoll there. They were talking about just leveling off the top of the knoll to put a playground on.
That's it.
So that's what I had gotten to at one time. So this would have to be doubled. So why don't we table this till next meeting
Get
and
some
then find out for
clarification.
sure if this is the amount, because I don't really know if that's the amount of land they're willing to give either, what's showing on here. I think, I don't know if we did that and shows that the 2 acres that we were kind of requesting, but if we aren't gonna, I don't think they're willing to give 2 acres either, once we look into it.
And then the pavement that goes out there, is that just going to be on that 460th or 80th or whatever that is there? Is it also going to go down, and is that hill that connects to Jefferson, is that going to be paved as well? Is that city road? That's township. That was going to be my next question is, what happens if the township or the city or whoever owns that road decides to reroute that horseshoe or that little elbow right there? If it's too steep and they bring it straight in or they do something.
There's considerations in that, and we've been talking about some different interchanges.
Right.
Of course, some of the property owners are interested in selling to square that up and make it
Sure.
go the way it's going to. That'd be a question for Brian, but I know there's been discussion about that.
Because however that development goes may encroach on whoever's property is in the red there, or it may expand that area in the red. So to Mike's point, if everything from whatever that, west end of their development, wherever they decide to stop that, if we literally get that hard line drawn in the sand and the city or the park owns everything from there up to the road, if the road then moves 50 to 100 feet, further, we would gain all that extra space. Now it's worth more than 20,000. So that'd be, an advocate for keeping the land because we might end up gaining some.
So I think that's what we got to find out before the next meeting. If, we were asking for 2 acres because that would be a nice sized dog park, but they might say, well, no, we were only going to give you a half an acre so that's something we'll have to clarify for the next meeting. Because if it was just a half an acre they're willing to give us, then we better take the 20,000.
Correct.
So we'll get that before the next meeting verified that's what's the amount that they're willing to give us.
Thanks for hearing both sides.
Yep. And then knowing what amount they give us is gonna answer a lot of questions for us, so. We don't need a motion to table this or anything, do we? That we just, all right, we got 10 minutes.
Well, that.
Okay, we're going to new business. Tree request, Charlie Nelson.
I also don't know anything about this. They said
No,
that
I
you would
got,
know.
Charlie is one that, and he had requested on a email to Brian and Mike and I that he would like to replant some trees behind his house on park property, on parkland, he wants to put some evergreen trees in there, so there's a buffer there. And that's what he requested, and then Brian sent back to him that, he said, Brian said, he said, I think I can answer that, I don't think the park board would allow that. And I didn't respond to it because I agreed with, but I seen Charlie up at Quick Trip one day and he cornered me and said, he said, you didn't respond to it. And I said, well, no, I agreed with Brian. He says, well, I don't think Brian should be making that decision. That should be a park board decision. I said, okay. So after we had that conversation, I went home and I sent him an email saying, after we talked, I said, I think you need to come to a park board meeting or your request in a written letter. So he emailed me back and wanted me to read a letter that he wants read. Okay, please read the following at the next park board meeting. Diane and I are requesting the park board approve our request allowing us to plant a number of trees at our expense just over our property line to replace trees that have died over the years. When we moved here over 30 years ago, there were many trees, oak, elm, ash, cedar in the park behind our home that have died, and we would like to see this area return to its natural beauty. He didn't mention it in here, but when he talked to me, he wanted to put evergreen trees there.
How many is several trees?
What's that? Yeah.
That's my next question, because that's what I caught off that whole thing is.
But when I
is
asked
several
him,
like
I said,
three,
well.
or is several 30, or you know what I mean?
Right.
Several doesn't really tell me how many trees, one, that you want to plant back there.
Well.
Which could make a difference,
When he
but-
told me the evergreen trees, I said,
Mhm.
well, why don't you plant them on your property then?
Right.
He said, I don't have enough room in my backyard.
Right. My only concern about evergreens is all the needles and things like that. I will defer to Mr. Schulte, who's our native expert and our green advocate, but I would be for making it try and look as natural to the way Charlie mentioned it, that it looked before he ever got there. And I don't think a row of evergreens is going to look natural. I am grateful for the opportunity for him to donate trees. And if he wants to spend money, I would find whatever tree type is living in that and then put them however, not just a nice straight border that looks like somebody else planted a natural border, but replace, if it is really wide open and he wants to thicken the woods, if you would, right behind his property, well, that would be a consideration if we could see what it looks like before and after.
Well, and then I had mentioned to him that, I said, well, yeah, and I said, I'm not for them. He said, why? I said, well, you plant them there. I said, evergreen trees, they're awesome when they're little, like a puppy, but when they grow up, they get to be a handful. I mean, right now, we have some right back by the pavilion that when we asked that lady to move her fence, she said, well, can you trim up them evergreen trees because they're growing? And so they're doing that now. And I told him that, I says, you know, when you're gone and those trees grow onto the new neighbor, they're going to want us to maintain them. He said, oh, I don't think that's going to happen. But he doesn't know that. But I agree with you, Troy, that no evergreens, but if he wants, the ones that he listed, oak, elm, ash, I mean, we don't want to plant ash anymore. But, you know, if he wants to donate some of them in that area, but then my thought would be approved by Mike and Larry, what he plants and where he plants them in there. But that's just my thought, or.
There's a native shrubs that would be a nice barrier for him that would, you know, help the understory more than a suffocating. So maybe he prefer a winter barrier, service barrier, or something like that. That would be more of an understory that
Right.
feeds the animals.
Just me, I would love where you couldn't even tell that anybody planted anything if all of a sudden just behind one house, there's this brand new thing and it's on park property. It looks like you would just went and did something different right there. I would like to see it look as undisturbed and natural as possible if it is
Yeah.
truly parkland. Or if you're gonna do a natural barrier, then I would love to see it go the whole length.
Let's say we're gonna open a can of worms there too,
Right.
that we allow
Right.
them, and everybody's gonna allow that. And when they move away, we're gonna be the maintenance part of it. And
Right.
I agree with you, just
Mhm.
the trees that he says was taken out, just get it back to it.
Yep.
just let nature take its course in the park
And don't plant nothing?
and work with his own yard.
Correct.
As a safe.
Yep.
Yep.
No,
But we can go plant shrubs for them.
I think all these trees we're taking out, we're looking at buying, and we plan on replacing a lot of these trees that have gone down and these ashes out. I mean, it's not like we're just taking them down and not going to replace them.
Yep.
I know Mike's working on different kinds of ways of replacing them. So they're going to get replaced.
Right. There are a couple of, and I briefly talked to you about it at the ball field the other night, but there are, I think, 4 small evergreen trees out at the ball field right now between Highway 58 and the outfield fence. They're rather small, but they're just on the north side of that trail that comes in between the 2 ball fields. I would like to propose that we retransplant those now and take them down either to a new location in the park or to our tree farm too, as I don't think they're needed where they're planted now on the outside of that fence. And as they continue to grow and get bigger, they're almost going to be too close to one another and they don't serve a real purpose out there. So we could repurpose them now, since we're on the subject of trees. But I think back to Charlie's thing, I think we all kind of agree that disturbing the parkland further, especially behind just one homeowner's house, that could become a future problem for the next homeowner, or is going to start a whole chain of people, well, I want something done to the land in the park behind my house now, I think would be a not good idea, so.
Just be a domino effect.
Right.
Right, if I don't like what my neighbors have in their backyard, I can't just plant trees on their part of the land.
Well, I
want privacy, I
think
gotta do it
Fred
on
really
mine.
is onto something there. Like if you do it for homeowner number 1, what are you going to do with the dominoes all the way
Right.
down this slew of things? So,
And the idea of doing this whole thing was to clean that all up. So we did.
correct. So I would say thank you for the offer for the trees, but we'll take them in the tree farm, but not just in the park behind a homeowner's location.
Okay, somebody's going to have to, well, I'll talk to Wednesday. I'll come, you can help me how I should, or
Why don't you wait until next week when Brian and Mike are both back?
whatever's fine.
Yep.
Yes.
All right, so that's the feeling, and just
Yeah.
Yes.
more or less know that we're gonna let the natural grow up as it wants to, and
Yep.
people just
Correct.
specifically put a barrier on park land behind the house.
I think, and I like your suggestion a lot about the good plant service barriers or something that's more native, that would provide a very nice screening tool for them.
On his land.
Right.
I think
Because if we do it on parkland, then we got to do it for every person down
Yep.
And
the
this is, I
road.
mean, that's what you were trying to get away from was, I'm concerned that there's been a lot of ownership questions about the fringes of the park. And so if you let somebody come in and say, hey, I want you to park this here, or plant this here, now are we gonna have some more ownership issues with saying, well, I told you to plant those, so those are my trees, those are the ones I told you.
Right.
Those are the ones I purchased.
Right,
I think it
yep.
makes the ownership part a little muddy.
Or when those trees grow up and the next person is living there and it falls and wrecks the shed.
That's your tree.
Well, that's insurance, you have to.
Yep, insurance, his insurance would have to
Well,
cover
it
it.
wouldn't be because it was.
Yeah,
No,
the park tree
no.
falls, unless we know it's a deficit.
Sure.
Okay, so do we need a motion on that somehow? Probably,
We should
or not?
consider a motto or, leave no traces, like say park, national park. Be like, don't mess with parkland. Or, I just think.
Considerations for the rest of the homeowners and doing one all for one and one for all thing. We can't really say we got to leave park all natural because we've taken down some of the trees that needed to be taken down because of the emerald ash borer and things like that. So I just think the consideration of who bought it and all this stuff, it's way too muddy with the future owner, the owners next door. Like,
I think people just need to act as if it's a regular neighbor that they have. It's not the city.
Want to donate trees that we can plant them down by the river and all that stuff.
Just say, thanks for your offer to donate trees. We are able to place them in the location you have suggested this time.
However, we
Correct.
have many other locations in which you can place your trees.
Right, yeah, we gladly take the donation.
I would like to see it with Charlie
Yeah.
in a motion, since that he knows that the whole
Yep.
park board was on board with that.
I will make a motion to politely decline the offer to plant trees directly behind said homeowner's property, but we would still consider taking a tree donation to our tree farm if he wants to make one.
Motion second, all in favor?
I,
Opposed? Carried. Okay, vendor camping fall festival.
just the one that he just wants to camp for the 2 nights for free, because he's already paying the
Yeah.
vendor thing.
Yeah, I don't know how much they're paying for their vendor fees. I know that it's more than when we had the festival. I thought that when we had vendors, we told them they could camp for free, but they couldn't. Right, it was primitive camping. Or if they had a camper, they could pull it up by their booth, but they weren't gonna use any of our hookups.
No, they couldn't pull it by the.
Couldn't
They
run
could
by
that-
booth.
We just had that designated area that
Sure.
was just open, it was no hookups, nothing, but it was
So
free.
you had an area for
Yeah,
them.
it's kind of, you know where that scrubby brush pile was before we got rid of it? That's kind of the area it was in.
The section.
Yeah.
If they want to pitch a tent, they can pitch a tent, but
Or even
no
if they want to do an
campers.
RV, but we're not providing any hookups.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
if they want to park up there, I mean, I was a little like,
Because, you know, if they hook up, hookups cost, I mean, if it's
Right.
hot and they're in their air and, you know, so.
Correct. I would agree with that, just
And I
because you're a
think at
vendor.
that time we said too, if you want hookups, you're welcome to get a spot at the. If there's spots.
Available, right?
Yeah.
So I would say they can go through normal channels to get a normal hookup, or they can have the limited
for
reserve
free.
designated area spot to park.
we haven't, I suppose you gotta have a motion on that too, right?
Yeah.
Let's have a motion on that, so they know.
So make a motion to either allow them to stay in that area designated without the fee, or if they want hookups, they can pay the fee to have the hookups.
I'll second.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. ZM Choir fundraiser sales.
They want to sell snacks up at the Music in the Park.
Yes.
And we've talked to other people about just little tiny peddler fees and things like that. I'm assuming just to keep things fair, they would have to have a peddler permit or a vendor permit or whatever we done.
Talk about a terrible year to disband the farmer's market.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I go, doing that, we're talking about that whole thing there and stuff. You know, I go through a lot of towns and they have a lot of farmers markets in their parks. You know, granted they had it up there, but maybe that's something that as a park board, you know, it'd be kind of fun to see them lined up on the road down here on a certain night and it's more visible and stuff
Right.
like that.
Sure.
I mean, just put it in mind, just maybe this winter, we try to find somebody that we want to coordinate that and have a farmer's market out in this park here along the road there on certain nights. And
Even a popcorn stand.
I've been thinking about that.
But
anyway,
what is the
back to
peddler,
this.
what is the vendor permit thing if you wanted to get one? Is it just a single flat fee and it's good for a whole
Yeah,
season?
it's $75 and it's good for the whole year.
Gotcha.
But I mean, I see you have selling Girl Scout cookies on Main Street and stuff. Do they come and get
No.
so they could just sit down on the sidewalk down there at the East Park and sell their candy bars, can't they?
It's a nonprofit.
School.
Right, it's for the school, so it is a nonprofit, it's going to their thing, so they're not pulling in a wagon or a booth, they're just having people go throughout the crowd and
Selling
sell their stuff.
candy bars, yeah.
This has been one for for them just to, how does that saying go?
Beg for forgiveness versus ask for permission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and
I mean,
there's been discussion amongst staff too about this whole peddler permit with food vendors and stuff, because they're not actually, going door to door approaching people. I mean, if they're just sitting there, they're not necessarily soliciting your business.
Right.
I mean, you can just, so there's been a lot of,
I don't see this being a problem, like it's like, oh man, there's gonna be, everybody gonna wanna do that, like I just.
Right.
I mean, to me, it's like, even if the girl, I mean, it's not during the Girl Scouts, but I can see them just going up there, putting a little booth on the sidewalk and selling what's.
that's why food vendors and, just vendors, anybody that's not going door to door, it's just very gray.
Because the pizza guy, does he to pay something?
He does, yeah.
He does only because his already grandfathered in from sitting on Main Street, correct? Wasn't that didn't we approve that a couple months back, that his permit was going to be okay to go up to? And he was just looking for
to be
permission to
honest
park his
with you-
wagon up there, but he already had one from 411.
To be honest with you, he's the only food vendor that
The guys that sit, the ones that sit at Ford Garage and all that, they never get up and.
So that's why with staff, it's been like, it is on private property and they're not forcing people to.
Because I imagine they get, okay, or there's Ford Garage and stuff, they invite them to come
Correct.
properly and stuff, so, I mean, it's on their
Right.
property and.
The only reason it came over here is because it's parking actually in the city park.
And I don't think we ever charged the farmer's market a fee, like as a whole.
I make a motion to allow the choir to sell at the park.
A second.
A second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. I mean, if anybody should be paying, there should be these people that are selling food that have no overhead going up against competition that pay taxes in town.
But do you get why it's a gray area? Because it's like, those people that go door to door, they're forcing you to listen to their pitch. They're soliciting you, whereas if you don't want to stop at the food truck, just don't.
Competition dictates the local business should set up your own truck.
Then how far do you take it? Is there a certain amount? Because then you gotta start having a peddler's permit for a lemonade stand for little Johnny.
I know, it's a very gray area.
What's the sentiment with everybody is, do we want to develop that kind of environment in park events? Vending and sales and activity, or do you want to squash it or stay neutral? I think like the farmers
Market and the music in the park with just a few amenities is really nice. It provides great atmosphere up there. It draws in a nice crowd. I mean, if it starts to get out of control where it's a big competition and it's just full of nothing but food trucks, then we squash it. But
Yeah.
right
So
now, it's
now-
just a
Unless
couple
people
local
are
people.
enjoying that,
Right.
unless people like that.
Festival and people have crafts and stuff down here. Do they pay to come down here?
To the festival committee, not to us.
No, it's not an issue right now, and
So do we want to leave the pizza truck the way that we had it?
do what?
Do we want to leave the pizza truck? the
Well,
way
I
that-
think so.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
he's
Park
he's in the
there.
park, but we did that here a few months ago, didn't we?
Yeah, and he paid the fee.
I thought he already had a fee from downtown and was asking if that fee would carry over.
He never really said. He just paid the fee, didn't he? He didn't even ask or anything, so
Yep.
I'm sure,
Sure.
we're gonna figure that as like a donation then.
Stefan's just a stand-up guy.
Keep them around.
Right,
And
right.
That's the way I was, that he just
Yeah.
paid it, because, I mean, he
His
does
cost of doing
really well
business.
up there, I'm sure, so he,
Yeah,
his
because
way of giving back.
there's a, I think her last name might be Grove. She's approached us a few times. She wants to sell her fresh cut flowers up there, and I'm like, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah, I mean, you're
Go
not,
for it.
yeah, because she's, I mean,
I just-
it's
stuff
like,
like-
it's such a
stuff like
gray
that
area
is-
because she's not forcing it.
Kirk, you know, people
I know
flock
she's-
to it and they think it's a
As
great
long as you're
thing.
not going around, putting flowers in people's hands and demanding $10 from them.
Right. Putting them in their
And like
hair.
you said, allow this stuff and all of a sudden it gets real cutthroat and I was like, okay,
Yes,
you
I
guys
would say,
ruined it, you ruined it on your
until
own.
it becomes a problem,
Yep.
just kind of,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you're looking for a motion to adjourn.
I do have one report.
See, he's got a report.
The grant for the campground was denied
Oh, yeah,
again.
denied.
Oh,
Didn't
yeah.
have the funds.
Well
That's
darn.
the last page.
She was like, peace out.
So being that was denied, anyway, what I brought up last month.
Yep.
I think it'd be kind of in our best interest to maybe look into maybe, we'll have to talk to Tim about, and I think there is, to maybe still do a shower house, because it's the same
Yeah.
as the bathrooms down here. It's, I don't know if you've ever been in them showers, they're pretty. So just get some thought, we can talk, this winter about it or whatever and stuff, but.
Yep.
What's that?
I agree with you. And that splash pad I did, I had to come back in quick. When we're not with the whole pool, but just the splash pad.
And I think what needs to get back on the agenda for next month is start the legwork on this pool too.
Yep.
And just so we got our end ready to go if they decide they want to go with a referendum vote and stuff. So I think we need to start. Put that on the agenda for next week too. And go over what we've already got, them two options and. Okay, Troy?
I second.
Adjourn, all in favor? Opposed? Aye. It's nice in here. No. Carried, thank you. Thanks, guys, for coming out on holiday week.